Millions of years before humans appeared, Earth was a strange world. There were no cities, no lights, only jungles, oceans, and giant creatures ruling the skies. T-Rex was once seen as the symbol of power, but what if I told you it wasn't the scariest one? Before the dinosaurs appeared, there were monsters even bigger, faster, and more brutal than any creature you've ever known. They didn't just change ecosystems, they redefined the idea of a perfect predator. This is a journey back in time to the era of the true rulers, monsters that science still can't fully explain. Is there anyone on Earth who hasn't heard of dinosaurs? The answer is almost no one. Indeed, dinosaurs have become part of humanity's collective memory. We know them from a very young age, even before we learn to read. But how many of us truly know what existed before the dinosaurs? The answer perhaps will surprise you, because before and after the dinosaur age, Earth was never peaceful. This planet was once ruled by gigantic, bizarre creatures that would make even the fiercest dinosaurs seem tame. According to one of the most widely supported scientific theories, the first life on Earth began in the ocean, where sunlight quietly filtered through deep waters. There, from the first simple cells, life gradually evolved, spread, and produced massive creatures that ruled the seas for hundreds of millions of years. So today's journey will begin where life itself began, the ancient ocean. And the first character in this story is Dunkleosteus, the giant predator that ruled the seas during the Devonian period. A creature so terrifying that if you met it underwater, your heart might stop before it could even attack. About 100 million years before the dinosaurs appeared, in the ancient seas of the Devonian, a giant fish swam like the lord of the ocean. That was Dunkleosteus, a genus of ancient armored fish with many species that once dominated the seas. Dunkleosteus is considered the most fearsome species, a prime example of primal power and nature's brutal evolution. Imagine a creature with a long body, large fins, and a powerful tail like a jet engine gliding through murky waters. Its body structure has led paleontologists to believe that Dunkleosteus didn't live near the bottom, but operated in the mid-levels of the ocean, where faint light still reached. According to estimates, Dunkleosteus could grow up to 33 feet long and weigh between 600 and 800 pounds. This fish was known to be agile, always ready to strike and finish off its prey in a flash. However, what makes Dunkleosteus truly special isn't its size, it's its head. Dunkleosteus's bizarre head would make any fossil expert immediately realize this was not a gentle creature feeding on plankton, nor a hunter of weak little fish. That head, with thick armor plates and jaws like steel pincers, said it all. Dunkleosteus was a true predator. The head and front body of Dunkleosteus were covered in bony armor as hard as steel, while the rear half was completely unprotected. But the paradox lies in its mouth. Dunkleosteus had no teeth. Hard to believe. A top predator without teeth. So how did it demonstrate its deadly power? In fact, what looked like teeth in its mouth were actually parts of its jawbone, naturally sharpened like steel blades. Even more astonishing, Dunkleosteus's jaw was structured so that the edges would sharpen each other every time the mouth closed. Every bite was a blade-sharpening act, keeping its weapon at peak sharpness. When scientists simulated the bite force of Dunkleosteus, the results astonished them. First, its jaws could open extremely fast, creating massive suction like a water pump, pulling prey in before the victim could react. Second, its bite force was so strong that it far exceeded any marine animal of its time. A 6-meter-long individual could generate a bite force of 400 newtons at the jaw edge and over 500 newtons at the center. To help you visualize it better, the modern polar bear, the largest carnivore in the Arctic, only achieves around 270 newtons. In other words, Dunkleosteus's bite was twice as strong, and despite its massive body, Dunkleosteus wasn't slow. Hydrodynamic simulations show it could reach swimming speeds of 32 to 40 kph, about the speed of a modern speedboat. At that speed, it hunted all kinds of prey, from ancient sharks to other armored fish. and sometimes even its own kind. It could be said that Dunkleosteus had virtually no rivals in the ancient ocean. But why did I say virtually no rivals? Because there was only one species that ever made this monster wary. And in just a moment, you'll find out what creature that was. So what else can we say about Dunkleosteus? Based on all the fossil evidence gathered by humanity, it was the top predator of its time, a creature perfectly adapted to its world. It had speed, strength, armored protection, and a jaw system so perfect it left almost no weaknesses. So when such a creature disappears, the only question that remains is, what happened to the ancient ocean? Scientists believe the extinction of Dunkleosteus at the end of the Devonian period wasn't a random accident, but the result of massive environmental changes that reshaped the face of the Earth. According to stratigraphic studies, the disappearance of Dunkleosteus coincided with two global mass extinction events. One was the Kelwasser event, around 372 million years ago. The other was the Hangenberg event, which occurred at the boundary between the Devonian and Carboniferous periods, about 359 million years ago. Next in our journey is a creature that terrified every other being in the prehistoric ocean. Its name is Mosasaurus, not a fish, not a dinosaur, but a giant marine lizard that ruled the oceans for tens of millions of years. It was called the ghost of the late Cretaceous, a creature that made even the sea tremble. Around 70 million years ago, while dinosaurs still roamed the land, Mosasaurus emerged as the new king of the underwater world. Paleontologists have found its fossils all over the world, from riverbeds in North America, cliffs in Europe, to ice layers in Antarctica. That shows Mosasaurus once ruled all shallow, warm seas where sunlight filtered through turquoise waters, illuminating its massive 10-meter-long body. An adult Mosasaurus could weigh up to 140,000 pounds, with a head the size of a small boat and dagger-like teeth, perfectly designed for tearing flesh. But what made it truly terrifying wasn't just its size, it was its intelligence and speed. Mosasaurus is believed to have been warm-blooded, with a high metabolism and incredible swimming speed. It moved gracefully like a shark, but could ambush and calculate attack angles. A predator that truly understood its power. The diet of Mosasaurus included everything in the sea: fish, squid, turtles, even adult sharks. And if food was scarce, it wouldn't hesitate to eat smaller members of its own species. For nearly 20 million years, Mosasaurus had virtually no rivals. Every other creature, from sharks and smaller marine reptiles to even giant squids, had to steer clear at the sound of its slicing movement through the water. Scientists believe that with its body structure and adaptability, Mosasaurus represented the peak of marine reptile evolution, a perfect design that nature created only once. Yet 66 million years ago, when the massive Chicxulub asteroid struck Earth, everything changed in an instant. The sky darkened with ash, the oceans cooled, and the food chain collapsed. With no more prey, the last Mosasaurus starved in the darkness, ending the reign of the dominant sea lizards. Speaking of the monsters that once ruled the ancient oceans, we can't leave out Megalodon, the largest predator the world has ever known. Around 23 to 3.6 million years ago, Megalodon roamed all the Earth's oceans, and it was also the creature that even Dunkleosteus, the monster we mentioned first, would have feared. Its name means giant tooth, and rightly so. Megalodon's teeth could reach up to 7 inches long, larger than a grown man's hand. Each tooth was like a blade capable of cutting steel, so sharp that with just one bite it could crush whale bones as easily as snapping a matchstick. Megalodon could grow up to 60 feet long and weigh over 100,000 to 120,000 pounds, equivalent to a mini submarine. To visualize, if you placed it next to a modern great white shark, Megalodon would make the white shark look like a baby fish. Its dorsal fin alone was taller than an adult man, and its mouth was wide enough to swallow a car whole. Megalodon's favorite prey included ancient whales, giant seals, sea turtles, and even other sharks. A single bite from Megalodon could generate over 36,000 pounds of force, 10 times stronger than a great white shark. enough to crush a car in an instant. But Megalodon wasn't terrifying just because of its strength. It was a smart hunter, known to ambush from below and target the belly, the softest part of its prey. When attacking whales, it often bit off their tail fins first, rendering them unable to swim, before circling back to finish them off. That hunting method shows Megalodon was not just a massive pile of muscle, but a strategic survivalist in the ancient ocean. It is believed that Megalodon went extinct about 3.6 million years ago, when global temperatures dropped sharply, causing the disappearance of the large whale species it hunted. Yet to this day, strange reports continue about giant shadows appearing in the deep sea, leading many to believe that Megalodon may not be truly gone. In 2012, a group of divers off the coast of Chile recorded a blurry video of a creature tens of meters long moving beneath their submarine. No one could identify what it was. There are also stories of massive bite marks found on whale carcasses washed ashore, marks so large that no known species today could have made them. While science continues to assert that Megalodon is extinct, the idea that a submarine-sized monster might still be swimming somewhere in the ocean's dark depths continues to send chills down our spines. After millions of years of oceanic domination, life shifted once again. Let's leave the water and return to land, where strange and terrifying creatures ruled Earth after the dinosaurs disappeared. And at the dawn of that era stood a giant flightless bird, a predator taller than a human, with a massive beak like a deadly weapon. Its name was Forus racus, more chillingly known as the terror bird of South America. In the late 19th century, two Argentine paleontologists shocked the world when they announced the discovery of this giant creature's fossils. The fossils revealed that this was a giant flightless bird that lived about 62 million years ago, right after the dinosaurs went extinct. The discovery was a shock because it showed that the evolutionary history of flightless birds is like a massive iceberg. What we see today is only the tip. Forus racus stood up to 8 feet tall, weighed nearly 330 pounds, had a head the size of a drum, and a flattened beak with a hooked tip like a blade. One peck was enough to pierce a skull. Its legs were the stuff of nightmares, thick muscles, huge claws, and the ability to accelerate rapidly. Although it couldn't fly, Forus racus was a master predator on land. It stalked its prey silently and struck with a deadly kick or peck. In a time when South America was still geographically isolated, it reigned as the continent's top predator. For tens of millions of years, Forus racus had virtually no rivals. But around 2.7 million years ago, the land bridge between North and South America formed, allowing powerful northern predators like leopards, wolves, and giant bears to migrate south. This disrupted the balance. The once dominant ground dwellers lost their advantage, faced food competition, and eventually went extinct. But what troubles scientists most isn't extinction. It's the reason why Forus racus gave up the ability to fly. Flight is a precious gift that evolution granted to birds, so why would a creature reject it? Researchers believe that in an environment with abundant food, few predators, and no need to travel far, flying became unnecessary and energy-consuming. Over millions of years, its wings shrank, its legs grew stronger, and Forus racus became a fully terrestrial predatory bird. Around 58 million years ago, when dinosaurs had already vanished from Earth, the tropical swamps of Colombia were a different world. Average temperatures reached over 90 degrees C with near total humidity. No humans, no large predators, just vegetation, insects, and one giant creature ruling the swamps, Titanoboa. Titanoboa was named after the coal mine where it was discovered. It is identified as the largest snake that ever lived on Earth. Measuring over 43 feet long and weighing nearly 2,900 pounds, it was twice the length of the largest Burmese pythons today. Its body diameter alone matched the waist of an adult human. If a Titanoboa slithered past, the ground would tremble as if a train were passing underground. In appearance, Titanoboa resembled a modern python, but with thicker skin and much more powerful muscles. Its entire body was dark brown and shiny like wet leather, providing perfect camouflage in tropical swamps. The vertebrae of Titanoboa were as thick as dinner plates, something no modern snake can compare to. But what made Titanoboa a true nightmare wasn't just its size. It was the way this giant snake hunted. Titanoboa didn't use venom to hunt. Instead, it killed with overwhelming constriction. A single squeeze from Titanoboa could apply up to 5,700 pounds of pressure per square inch, 400 km2, enough to crush the bones of any creature, even ancient crocodiles or turtles. When prey approached, Titanoboa would silently slither forward, coil its massive body around its target and squeeze. Paleontologists have found Titanoboa fossils right next to the jaws of giant prehistoric fish. That suggests it didn't only hunt on land, it was also a skilled aquatic predator. It could ambush from murky water, then rise like a massive steel cable, coil around its prey, and drag it into the muddy depths until all was still. To help you visualize, a full-grown Titanoboa could swallow a 16-foot-long crocodile in under 30 minutes, and afterward, it would lie motionless for weeks, digesting a meal that weighed hundreds of pounds. Imagine a snake the size of a tree trunk, coiled in the rainforest, occasionally twitching as it swallowed its prey whole. That's no longer just an animal. It would be humanity's worst nightmare if it still existed today. Titanoboa could only survive in climates at least 18 degrees IF, 10 degrees C, hotter than today. High temperatures helped it maintain the metabolism needed for such a massive body. As Earth's climate cooled, this giant snake couldn't adapt and disappeared completely from the planet. However, some believe that if Earth's climate continues to warm, as it did tens of millions of years ago, the conditions for Titanoboa's survival could return. And if that happens, deep in the wet forests of South America, who's to say there won't be a massive shadow silently gliding across the water, cold, calm, and ready to reclaim its throne? But what about the skies? When the giant Forest Racos disappeared, did the ancient sky fall silent? The answer is no, because by then the skies were ruled by a creature with a wingspan nearly as wide as a modern fighter jet. If you think the ferocious T-Rex was the undisputed king of the prehistoric land, think again. They could be attacked and even become a feast for the giant flying predator known as the largest flying eating machine in Earth's history. That was the giant flying reptile Quetzalcoatlus, the largest flying creature ever to exist on Earth. It ruled the vast skies and had virtually no natural predators. Even the biggest and fiercest dinosaurs could become its prey. At the end of the Cretaceous period, when T-Rex ruled the land, Quetzalcoatlus was the terror from above. Its wingspan could reach up to 40 feet, the size of a small propeller plane, and it stood taller than a full-grown giraffe when on two legs. Despite its enormous size, its body was extremely light and agile, with hollow bones and thin membranes stretched between long joints. This structure allowed Quetzalcoatlus to glide for tens of kilometers with just a few wing beats. It was once thought that Quetzalcoatlus could only glide like a seabird, but recent research shows it could also walk on land, folding its wings like two massive front limbs. Quetzalcoatlus had one of the longest jaws among all animals, estimated at over 8 feet long. Its beak resembled tweezers and had no teeth. In terms of diet, Quetzalcoatlus was an opportunistic predator. It didn't just eat fish, as many believed, but also hunted small dinosaurs, lizards, and even scavenged carcasses. Some theories suggest it flew low over plains, using its pointed beak to snatch prey by surprise, like a spear from the sky. With diving speeds possibly exceeding 130 km/h, a single strike from Quetzalcoatlus could pierce the skull of small ground creatures. Its massive size meant that whenever its shadow passed over the ground, all other animals, even the fierce T-Rex, would stay alert. Not only did it hunt on land, the giant pterosaur Quetzalcoatlus also soared above Cretaceous coastlines, catching prey from the water. Researchers believe Quetzalcoatlus and its relatives may have scavenged like modern vultures. What's astonishing is that despite its massive size, Quetzalcoatlus had a highly developed brain, enabling excellent balance and navigation. It could use rising air currents and thermal winds to soar for hours without flapping, like today's eagles, but on a much larger scale. Tens of millions of years ago, Earth belonged to giants. But then they all vanished, not from being hunted, but from changes to the planet itself. When the environment exceeds its limits, even the strongest are swept into extinction's shadow. And Earth begins a new era, the age of humans. We are smaller, weaker, but we possess a weapon no other species ever had: intelligence. From bare hands, humans built cities, created machines, mastered fire, and even conquered space. At this moment, humans are the most perfect predator the planet has ever known. But that raises a bigger question. Are we inheriting, or repeating, the fate of the prehistoric monsters? Every dominant species has met its end. Will humans be the final ruling creature of the blue planet? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your likes not only help the channel grow, but also motivate us to make more exciting documentary videos like this one. Goodbye, and see you next time.